Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale modeling tips on the planet. Today we're here with Mr. Jim Church, who is currently president of the Mid-Michigan Model Makers IPMS chapter in Saginaw, Michigan. Jim has won numerous awards at both the regional and national level and has graciously allowed us to take a peek at his creative process. Jim is going to show us how to make some cycads vegetation, those are ferns, for a realistic looking Cretaceous period diorama. But this method should work for many types of diorama vegetation. The fern he is making is made from both natural and aftermarket products that are readily available on the internet or outside your door, and they make a great looking piece to add to your prehistoric base. So tell us, Jim, what are we going to learn today?
Morning, Jim Church, president of Mid-Michigan Model Makers. Today I'm continuing on a base that I'm starting for a project prehistoric dinosaur, Acrocanthosaurus, and the specifics that I'm going to work on today is making ferns. And what I'll be using is just caps of an acorn, and I'll be using some products from both MIG and from Model Scene, pre-cut ferns, both reds for dead and greens for obviously the living. Okay. Now, when I start, as you can see, I have the caps already placed in position. Okay, we will be starting with the caps that we just simply found up in the Great North Woods of Michigan, oak, and I'll remove the stem. Now, drilling through these would seem to be easy, but I found they really aren't. So what I need to do is tap gently a starting hole, and I'll simply use a large awl. And it does help to use a hammer. Going to gently tap so I don't split the cap. And maybe just a touch more. Okay, good, we didn't split it. Okay, with the cap tapped, I will now gently, at a very slow speed, try to expand the hole. And we try not to take our fingers off at the same time. Now I have an opening that is large enough to work with to put the stems of our ferns in. The ferns are from two different companies. One's Model Scene and from also MIG Enterprises. They are a paper, but the details are very good for what we're using them for. The red obviously represent dead or dying old leaves, and again then the vibrancy and the bright green would be your living ferns. Now, they're very fine in detail, and they're only attached in a few small places, and you really do have to look. All right, I'm going to excuse me, use a few red around the base as older growth before I put in newer growth of green. All right. Use a very sharp X-Acto. As I said, there are only a few attachment points that you have to look for. Usually at the base of the fern. Make a gentle cut.
so it's not to tear. And then again at the top you should be able to find one. Okay, again using small tweezers. And what I'll do is I'll cut a number of them before I put the glue in. So I'll kind of arrange and take a look at what I have, think about the arrangement that I want to put with these. Those are the reds. Now we'll take the healthy green bronze. And I usually cut both decals and fine paper, things like that, on a glass sheet that I have down here, rather than on wood, which would dig in. So I do find using the glass plate works really well.
Jim, you said that these are made out of paper?
They are. Kind of it's a stiff paper, but it's flexible, very flexible.
So you can shape them?
You can definitely shape them without any problem. Bend them to a desired shape if you like. For example, with the a bend on the stems, maybe wind or whatever, however you want to do this. But yeah, it's very simple, Doug, to get those taken care of. But a lot of times I use my base. I'll just simply use sifted ground dirt, and sometimes I don't even sift it very fine because for larger scales you kind of want that effect. I also use as a ground base many times. Vallejo has a number of groundwork products that are very, very effective, and that's usually what I use now to spread on this. It's a paste, so it stays wet and you can work with it. It's malleable. You can again, I did intentionally get the rough lines in here for wind blowing and things along those lines, and then cover it with the dirt so you don't quite have that red. When I am all done with this, I will dust this with a light sand airbrush. I'll airbrush a light dust over it to kind of give it that dust over look on everything. All of our fronds are cut now, as you can see. And what I'm going to do is just take a little of the Woodland Scenic glue. I really prefer this to, for example, your micro clear. Now I like micro clear in some contexts, but for flats and for scenics, this dries completely flat. It does not give you any glare at all. So this is one of the reasons I use this. And I will also flat coat this, a dust coat of flat, but this just aids in drying, flat and not making any glare. And I'm also going to take some of the glue. Okay, so we now have the center filled. I will take now the tweezers, and I'm going to put the red ferns in, the dead. They would be the lower growth.
Closest to the base.
Closest to the base, yes sir. I'll get a small one on the ground. It's blown off of its area, and it's just kind of here now. Again, kind of just work with it and think in nature. Again, we don't have any ferns quite this large. Okay. Get that thing down. It's been blown. All right, now we'll go with the live versions. We'll bend some of them. Touch. A little lower so I can get these down in.
Small stuff.
Small stuff. But again, I generally work, much of my material is 1/72nd scale figures and armor and aircraft and dioramas. So this actually is rather large scale for me.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's nice.
It's an example. Again, it adds color to, again, I don't want a lot of color. So you had a lot of the planet was dry, and you had ferns were your primary plants. You had cycads, conifers were plentiful, and so I'm just kind of with the low vegetation, low growth in this area. I love doing the bases first. Whenever I do dioramas or figures, I always do the base first. Then I can blend my colors into the creature, into armor, for example, when I've done the base. Okay.
So you're actually making the setting for your subject and matching it to that.
Exactly. Nature was there first, the creatures would follow, so therefore that's kind of always been my dictum when I do my work. Well,
so is the fern that you've just, that's a finished item then, and I see you have more bases. And
I have, let's see, 4 more bases that I will fill here, and I'll take a good look then and say, okay, this is probably what I want. If not, I could add that 5th one that we just cut and simply put her down in here and add another spot if I so desire, if you will. It's the nice thing about modeling. And people sometimes ask me about subjects and the whole bit and technique. Modeling is individual. And I think I just happen to be one of those people who do enjoy building competitively. But I would encourage anybody to just enjoy the process. Enjoy the subject material you're working on. Do what you feel comfortable with doing and what you're happy with. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. That is one thing I would say. Learn from other people. I have learned from so many fantastic modelers in my life. I'm very thankful to dozens of them. But in the end, it's when I build, I'm building so that I'm happy. I'm enjoying my time with what I'm doing.
Well, it certainly looks like it, because that's beautiful. And yeah, I see you've got a slab of looks like northern pine there or something.
It's a base that I purchased from. All of my dinosaurs go on these type of bases. They're again purchased at any of your Home Depot or your
hobby shop.
Hobby shop, thank
Hobby
you.
Lobby?
Hobby Lobby, any of those, and they're inexpensive basically for what you're going to put on them, and and again, I think that they kind of capture the outdoor, the ruggedness, and the pines would be completely appropriate for the prehistoric era. Some of that, and and they are a good solid base to work on as well.
Well, I think it's coming along greatly, and I just want to say, we appreciate your taking the time to show us how to put this diorama base together, and we'll be looking forward to some more progress in the future.
Look forward to it, Doug. My pleasure.
We hope that you like these premium modeling tips from Right On Replicas, and so that you don't miss any more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, or you can find us on Facebook, and always at our website, www.rightonreplicas.com. Thanks!